The U.S. is preparing for a long campaign against the Houthis in Yemen. Iran vows revenge for the 5 IRGC members killed in an alleged Israeli strike yesterday in Syria. And Israel releases footage showing what they say is a tunnel network under Khan Yunis that recently held Israeli hostages. What's going on, everyone? Let's take a look at some updates as it relates to this broader war across the Middle East. I'm recording this at 10 a.m. Central on Sunday, January 21st, 2024. Yesterday, in an article put out by the Washington Post, they say that the Biden administration is crafting plans for a sustained military campaign targeting the Houthis in Yemen after 10 days of strikes failed to halt the group's attacks on maritime commerce. Skipping ahead in the article, because I feel like this part was kind of buried, they say officials don't expect that the operation will stretch on for years, like previous U.S. wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, or Syria. At the same time, they acknowledge that they can identify no end date or provide an estimate for when the Houthis' military capability will be adequately diminished. As part of the effort, U.S. naval forces are also working to intercept weapons shipments from Iran. In terms of what the U.S. is trying to accomplish in this operation, that I guess Prosperity Guardian is what this all falls under still. So what Prosperity Guardian is trying to accomplish, according to the administration officials here, they say the strategy is to erode the Houthis' high-level military capability enough to curtail their ability to target shipping in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden, or at a minimum, to provide sufficient deterrent so that risk-averse shipping companies will resume sending vessels through the region's waterways. Now, while there hasn't been a significant Houthi attack, a complex attack against military or commercial vessels since the U.S. and U.K. launched this series of strikes a few days ago, just prior to that major attack, it was like 21 separate drones and missiles fired against U.S. military ships in the region. That's significant. We haven't seen that, but all it takes is one drone every couple days, one missile every couple days, and that's going to be enough to continue the disruption in global shipping there. So, as of now, the U.S. is saying this could take quite a while. They also stressed in this article that there is no desire to put boots on the ground in Yemen. That's not part of the plan, but it could require a substantial naval and air effort to try to diminish the Houthis' military capabilities over the next few weeks, months, potentially even years. So in yesterday's video, we had initial reports of the Al-Assad air base in Iraq coming under fire from Iranian-backed militias in the region. We've got a little more information on that now, where U.S. Central Command said that the base, Al-Assad, was hit by multiple ballistic missiles and rockets fired by Iranian-backed militias inside of Iraq. The statement did not confirm the extent of any U.S. injuries, but they did say that a handful of U.S. personnel were being evaluated for traumatic brain injury. I did see in another report that at least one Iraqi soldier was also wounded in these strikes. Central Command said most of the missiles that were fired at Al-Assad Air Base were intercepted, although some did make it through and strike the base. We do have air defense capabilities over, I think, safe to say, every base to some degree in Iraq and Syria. It's just a matter of can they repel the volume of strikes coming in. And it looks like this attack a couple days ago was pretty substantial. Now, since the Israel-Hamas war began in early October, the U.S. says that our military forces have come under attack at least 58 times in Iraq and 83 times in Syria. Every one of those occurrences now, I think all of them have been claimed by Iranian-backed militias. The attacks are usually taking the form of either rockets, sometimes missiles, like we saw a couple days ago, and then, of course, one-way attack drones. And then yesterday, we did not have a claim of responsibility for the attack. It was a little bit early, so it wasn't crazy that we hadn't seen it yet. But overnight, as expected, the attack against Al-Assad Air Base was claimed by the Islamic Resistance in Iraq, a grouping of Iranian-backed militias across Iraq and Syria. Then yesterday, Tehran vowed to carry out revenge attacks against Israel after an alleged Israeli strike flattened a building and killed 5 IRGC members in Damascus, Syria. According to a source that spoke with Reuters, this multi-story building in Damascus was used by Iranian advisors supporting Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's government, and they say the building was just completely destroyed in a series of precision strikes. And then according to the Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson, he said the strike was a desperate attempt to spread instability in the region and that Iran reserves its right to respond to the organized terrorism of the fake Zionist regime at the appropriate time and place. So again, we haven't heard anything from Israel either confirming or denying any involvement in this attack, which is to be expected. That's kind of the status quo for events like this. Alleged Israeli strikes targeted strikes against Iranian and IRGC officials in Syria is nothing new. It's been happening for years. I don't want to write this off. It was 5 IRGC officers that were killed. That's significant for Iran. That's happened a couple times already, even in this recent iteration of the war in Gaza as tensions have kind of mounted across the region. So maybe Iran lashes out directly at Israel. We haven't seen that yet, but that doesn't mean that, at no point in the future will Iran say enough's enough. We're going to do something about this. So there's no easy way to say this, but I have a shocking amount of military gear that was first issued to me like 10 plus years ago. And if you talk to any veteran or anybody who's still in the service, they're probably going to say the same. There's probably some pack rat tendencies there. I don't know. But part of it is that a fair amount of this gear is actually pretty high quality. So the two things that I have more than anything else, that I've held on to more than anything else, is cold weather gear and then medical supplies. Like I've got a weird amount of tourniquets in the shed out back. Now, there's a couple ways that you can go about building up just a good quality stash of military gear. You could enlist, go to basic, spend 3, maybe 4 years in uniform, and then some of it you get to keep. And there you go. You got your own little pile. Or you could go to Venture Surplus and pick out the exact same stuff right now and save yourself the hassle of drill sergeants, early morning PT, and flawless bureaucracy. And right now, Venture Surplus has their closeout sale going on with 50% off certain items and free shipping for any order over $80. Look, it's the same high-quality gear that we issue to our service members that I have in my shed right now at solid prices provided by a veteran-owned company. So check out the link in the description and use code Preston10 for 10% off your order at checkout. And come join me and the many other people that have a pretty healthy supply of military surplus sitting around our house. Then turning to operations on the ground, Israel says that they located dozens of rocket production lines, weapons workshops, warheads, rocket launching pits, and explosive devices during a series of raids across central Gaza. We're going to start seeing more and more of this. Hamas has manufactured a fair amount of their own military capability. We're going to start seeing more of that as Israel pushes further into central and southern Gaza, as we've seen over the last couple days here. Israel says the volume of materials and supplies that they confiscated and destroyed in this raid could have been used to produce more than 800 rockets. They say the rocket production process consisted of several different stages that they'd spread out across multiple areas, multiple buildings, multiple tunnels to make it that much harder for Israel to target and destroy this weapons production process. Additionally, Israel says they uncovered an underground tunnel in Khan Yunis, this is the southern portion of the Gaza Strip, where Israeli hostages had recently been held. They say the tunnel was around 830 meters long and 20 meters deep. The entrance was booby-trapped, and inside of the tunnel, there were multiple obstacles, explosives, sliding doors, and blast doors. As Israeli forces moved into this tunnel network, they encountered Hamas militants. Close quarters engagement ensued. The militants were killed, and after that, the IDF was able to move further into this tunnel network and identified that the hostages were no longer there. They had been moved recently, and as an examination of the tunnel, they found barred prison cells underground. I think we got some pictures and video here I can show, and some additional items indicating that hostages had recently been in that location. Additionally, Israel says that they were able to speak with some of the hostages who were released and potentially show them this footage and images in the location. And some of the hostages now back in Israeli territory confirmed, yes, we were held there, and there were about 20 hostages held in this tunnel network, this specific tunnel network that we're seeing here at different times. Israel says that this tunnel was located in the heart of a civilian area in Khan Yunis, and the entrance was located in the residence of a Hamas leader. I think on the one hand, we can kind of get numb. There's so much tunnel footage coming out of Gaza at this point. It's just about every day Israel is showing new footage of an underground network. But we're starting to see some changes here, right? Just over the last couple of weeks, starting to see more engagements with Hamas militants in those tunnel networks. Didn't see that as much up north. Starting to see a lot more weapons still in the tunnels, weapons manufacturing facilities in the tunnels. And now we're getting into an area, especially around Khan Yunis, where Israel is uncovering tunnels where it is certain, according to Israel, that hostages were held there relatively recently. Expect all of those things to continue as they push further south. Then over the past 24 hours, Hamas claimed responsibility for 3 attacks against Israeli forces in Gaza, and we've got a video put out by Palestinian Islamic Jihad, another Palestinian militant group in Gaza, much smaller than Hamas, more militant, if you will. This information here is according to War Noor on Twitter, 100% worth following, all over this stuff. all the time, every day, putting out great information when it comes to weapons and equipment being used in any number of conflicts around the world. But according to War Noor, he says that what you're seeing in this video is the AM-50 Sayyad, which is a bolt-action 12.7 millimeter anti-material sniper rifle. It sounds like this weapon, which I think is described as being made or at least assembled inside of Gaza. So this isn't like a Russian or Chinese or Iranian weapon that has been smuggled in, but more something that Hamas and PIJ are putting together themselves. Supposedly can strike targets out to 1,500 meters away. And of course, a 12.7 millimeter round is going to be pretty effective against any sort of unarmored vehicle and, any personnel in the open. Then the Hamas media arm put out a report yesterday titled Our Narrative, Operation Al-Aqsa Flood. So a lot of what we've gotten from Hamas at this point is from various spokespeople, snippets on their Telegram channels and other social media posts. This is a formal document put together by Hamas explaining why they're doing what they're doing, in essence. I think it was about 7 to 10 pages. Read through the whole thing. I'll kind of give you the summary here. So they said, we would like to clarify to our people and the free peoples of the world that the reality of what happened on October 7th, the motives behind, its general context related to the Palestinian cause, as well as refuting the Israeli allegations and to put the facts into perspective. They say Operation Al-Aqsa Flood on October 7th was a necessary step and a normal response to confront all Israeli conspiracies against the Palestinian people and their cause. It was a defensive act in the frame of getting rid of the Israeli occupation, reclaiming the Palestinian rights, and on the way for liberation and independence like all peoples around the world did. They also dove into a bit of kind of tit-for-tat arguments about what actually took place on October 7th, kind of going back and forth with various Israeli claims. It's a lot of stuff you've seen argued on social media. None of that was necessarily new. No new evidence one way or another, just kind of the same competing claims we've now heard for a few months. Overall, nothing groundbreaking in this piece from Hamas. It's largely, if you piece together all of their other statements, their unofficial or official statements that have been put out over the last few months, it's all kind of consolidated in here. This is just kind of buttoned up. It's a very easy document to just hand off and say, this is who Hamas is. This is what they want. This is what they say needs to happen going forward. I don't know if this has to do with any other ongoing efforts around maybe prisoner exchange, ceasefire negotiations, or maybe even the hearings at the International Court of Justice. But, worth noting, worth discussing that Hamas did, for the first time since October 7th, really lay out in an easy to read, in English, by the way. There's an Arabic and an English version here. Here's who we are. Here's what we're doing. Here's why it's important. But that's all I've got for now. Of course, if interested in these or any other national security subjects, be sure to check out the Substack in the description below. There's free options to join there, and a lot of the work we're doing in the next coming weeks and months is going to be available for free. So head over there, sign up. If this is anywhere on your radar, I think you're really going to like it. But thanks for watching. I'll see y'all next time.